At any time during the course of this meeting, the board may retire to executive session under Texas Government Code Sections 551071 and 551072. This meeting begins at 6:03. Roll call.
Oscar Salinas here.
Nereida Cantu present. Mary Hernandez present.
Armin Garza present.
S.B. Ochoa present. Dr. Science, I do declare a quorum.
Thank you. Ms. Claudia Ochoa and Alex Cantu are not here with us this evening due to family commitments.
Pledge of Allegiance.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce Montserrat Villarreal, who's a 7th grade student at Cesar Chavez Middle School, where we are proud to give students the best education possible. Montserrat currently represents Cesar Chavez in the district's Ambassadors Forum, where she engages with other students from the district to assure our district is running smoothly. Frank L. Gaines once said, "Only she who can see the invisible can do the impossible," a quote that Montserrat lives by daily with all she does, whether it be in her daily studies or her athletic abilities. Montserrat is accompanied today by her mother, Yadira Villarreal, and her sister, Jasmine Villarreal. Let's stand while Montserrat leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Montserrat, and will her family please stand so that we can recognize you? Thank you.
Dr. Science, do we have any public comments?
No, there's no public comments.
Okay, we'll move on to Texas.
Also
Tax. Okay, moved by Coach,
Second.
second by Mr. Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Superintendent report.
Thank you, Ms. Ochoa. Before I begin the superintendent's report, I do want to congratulate all our bands. Our Coyote Band, our Husky Band, and our Lobo Band all received first a Division of 1 rating at Pigskin Jubilee on Saturday. We're very, very proud of all our bands, so thank you to our directors for all of the hard work, and also our students who spend many, many, many hours practicing. So thank you to the parents also that support our student, and of course, thank you to their principals. Before I begin, I also want to welcome all our principals that are in the house this evening. Welcome, principals. Thank you for being here, and good evening to everybody else. The superintendent's report. First, we have the enrollment report, which is as of October 15, 2019. We had 12,891 elementary students, 14,361 secondary students, for a total of 27,252 students, which are 781 students less than at this time last year. The next item is recognition for Irma Zuniga, bilingual director, for being selected as the 2019 Public Education Honoree by the Texas Association of Bilingual Education Executive Board, and Ms. Magda Villarreal, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, will do the awards. And if I could have Ms. Ochoa and Ms. Hernandez please help us give this recognition.
Good evening, Ms. Board President, Board, Mrs. Science. First and foremost, thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to recognize the amazing individuals that are contributing to the success of our district. The Executive Board of the Texas Association for Bilingual Education, known as TABE, selected Ms. Irma Zuniga, our bilingual director, as the 2019 Public Education Honoree. This award is given to educational leaders in Texas who have provided exemplary support in the areas of bilingualism, biliteracy, and biculturalism. Ms. Zuniga was initially nominated by the board based on her level of administrative support offered to our school district in the implementation of the dual language education program. Ms. Zuniga, we are extremely proud of you and our bilingual department. Congratulations and thank you for all that you do to support our students, staff, and the community here at La Joya ISD.
Congratulations. We will be postponing item number 3 for our next board meeting, so I'll go to item number 4, announcement of school board member continuing education end-of-year report. I am required under House Bill 3 to give the report by tiers for each board member and include the number of hours and whether they exceeds, complete, or deficient in certain areas. Tier 1 hours are updates to the Texas Education Code or trainings in those areas. Tier 2 is team building hours. Tier 3 is any additional hours related to the framework for school board development. And Tier 4 is Senate Bill 1566 hours, which relate to the powers and the duties of the board. Ms. Nereida Cantu, Tier 1, 10 exceeds, 0 deficient. Tier 2, Tier 3, 19 exceeds, Tier 4 completed. Esperanza Espi Ochoa, Tier 1, 9 exceeds, Tier 2, 0 deficient, Tier 3, 24 exceeds, Tier 4 complete. Mary T. Hernandez, Tier 1, 9 exceeds, Tier 2, 0 deficient, Tier 3, 40.75 exceeds, Tier 4 completed. Claudia Ochoa, Tier 1, 1 deficient, Tier 2, 0 deficient, Tier 3, 35 exceeds, Tier 4 completed. Armin Garza, Tier 1, 1 deficient, Tier 2, 0 deficient, Tier 3, 18.49 exceeds, Tier 4 completed. Oscar Salinas, Tier 1, 1 deficient, Tier 2, 0 deficient, Tier 3, 3 deficient, and Tier 4 completed. Alejandro Alex Cantu, Tier 1, 0 deficient, Tier 2, 0 deficient, Tier 3, 12 exceeds, and Tier 4 completed. That's the report on board member continuing education. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
And for the record, Tier 2 is team building, and we do have a scheduled training in the future. So we should get that completed.
Thank you, Ms. Ochoa.
We will go back to item number 6, approval of minutes. Can I entertain a motion for approval?
Also move.
Motion by Mr. Salinas, second by Ms. Hernandez. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. We will go on to discussion items, discussion of La Joya ISD Guidance and Counseling Department suicide prevention efforts.
And we will have Miriam Tejas, Counseling and Guidance Director, do this presentation for us.
Yes, good evening, members of the board, Dr. Science. I will be discussing La Joya Independent School District Suicide Awareness and Prevention Program. As mandated by House Bill 2186 in 2015, we are supposed to provide suicide prevention training for educators in Texas public schools. So since 2012, we have been using a program called Jason Foundation. It was established in 1997 after the tragic loss of Clark Flatt's youngest son, Jason. Jason Foundation, it is a free resource for us to use. We have, what the program does is, it is an online database of classes that our teachers are take throughout the program. What it is they have 2-hour modules, 1-hour modules, and the majority of our teachers have completed that. I will have numbers in a moment. But the following slides that I have for you are samples of the 1-hour modules that our teachers can take. First, we have supporting the LGBTQ students in schools. LGBTQ students are more likely to have suicidal thoughts and suicide attempts than their heterosexual peers. Childhood and teen depression is another module that the teachers can see. And depression is one of the leading causes of suicide attempts. We have the non-suicidal self-injury or cutters. And this particular module provides factors that contribute and signs associated with the behavior as studied. It also offers recommendations on how to respond to a young person who may be struggling with these behaviors. Also, there's a bullying and suicide module, and it presents the facts and the myths and the research regarding bullying and suicide. Also, suggested protective factors and recommendations are provided in this module. The last sample is suicide postvention, and this addresses the creation of our plan for the aftermath of a suicide that we have in place. I do want to discuss a couple of other items there. I want to let you know that at the district level, 81% of our elementary teachers have completed all the modules and exceeded. The mandate also states that they must receive 2 hours of continuing education every single year. So at the elementary level, we have 81% of our teachers that have completed. At the middle school, 82%, and at the high school, 69%. That does not mean that the teachers have not received instruction this particular year. They just have not completed all the modules within the Jason Foundation. So the counselors at the campuses right now are ensuring that those teachers are identified and continue their training. The Jason Foundation also provides a youth curriculum for grades 7th through 12th grade. It is called A Promise for Tomorrow. And the purpose of the curriculum is to provide information and strategies needed to be a life-saving influence. We also teach our kids to download what Jason Foundation has on a phone app, and that means that the kids have at their fingertips all the resources necessary, including the suicide prevention lifeline telephone number if they need it, especially when they are not in school. And during the month of September, we also carry the Suicide Awareness Month, the Yellow Ribbon Campaign. Throughout the school year, the counselors go ahead and issue the lifeline cards for any students that need immediate attention. They need to know that somebody is available for them to talk to them. At the elementary level, we do suicide prevention lessons, but they are in the aspect of, for example, not hurting ourselves or others, the self-esteem lessons, and the character education. I do want to also let you know that one of our biggest suicide prevention efforts is our lethality protocol. The counselors at the district take immediate action and conduct the emergency conferences with the parents in case the kids make any kind of comment regarding suicide. Last year at the elementary level, we did have 107 emergency conferences. At the middle school, 177, and at the high school, 92. The other thing is during a school year, the counselors also respond by making outside referrals as needed, and they respond to any alerts that might be provided either by an adult, even our anonymous alert system. Any of those ideations or comments are followed through by our campus counselors. Are there any questions that I may address?
I don't have a question, but more of a comment. Just want to
Yes.
thank you for the efforts that you all have put forth and done for our kids. And if there's anything as a board that we can do to help you expand on those efforts, we understand this is an epidemic that's affecting a lot of our kids, and it's something that we take very seriously, and we want to be able to help and be part of the solution.
Thank
So
you,
if there's anything
Mr.
we can do,
Garza.
please let us know.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We'll move on to discussion of first 6 weeks test results.
Thank you.
And we'll have Magda Villarreal, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, give us that information.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, and members of the audience and community. This evening, I will be sharing the District Progress Report based on our first 6 weeks results. This activity is directly aligned with the framework for school board development that ensures that board members create a shared vision that promotes the enhancement of student achievement and accountability. I want to draw your attention to page 46 and the document titled First 6 Weeks Progress Reports, okay? So as you can see, you have 3 tables on the document, and they're titled Reading, Math, and Writing. All 3 tables are laid out the same way. And the first table, as you can see, it has the grade level. It has the first 6 weeks test results, and what you can see there is you have the number of kids that tested, also the proficiency levels, which are approaches, meets, and masters, and you're also able to see the percentages for each of the proficiency levels. Then you have the 2020 goals for each proficiency level, and then you have the gap between the first 6 weeks percentage results and the 2020 goal. So we're gonna go ahead and start with reading. And let's go ahead and look at the grade levels. As you can see, we have 3rd through 8th grade. If you remember our initial conversation, we said that we were gonna be progress monitoring 3rd through 9th grade. The reason that you don't see the 9th grade data is because 9th grade works on a block schedule. Currently, right now, they're assessing, okay? Once we get those results, we'll go ahead and meet with you all and give you those grades for the 9th grade students. So if we look at 3rd grade for reading, as you can see, for Module 1, we tested 1,699 students. I want to draw your attention to the green column right there for the percentage under approaches. We had 43% of our students pass, 9% at the meets level, and 3% at the master's level. The goal for the end of year goal is to be at 88%, 54% at meets, and 33% at masters. You do see a gap there of -45 for approaches, -45 for meets, and -30 for masters. If you go to Module 2, you have the number of kids that assessed, which is 1,724. If you go to the green column again, you have 59% of our students at the approaches level, 13% at meets, 5% at masters. If you look at our goal, the goal stays the same, obviously, and then you see the gap. The gap is a lot less with -29%, meets at 41%, and then masters at -28%. If you look at these percentages, and you see the gap, obviously they're significant right there, but I do want to remind you it's an end of year goal. But one of the things that you're probably thinking right now is, why is third grade assessing 2 assessments? Normally, there's only 1 assessment at the end of the 6 weeks. I do want to let you all know that this year for reading, for language arts, middle school and elementary went into, we have new TEKS, and we also have a new adoption. So at the elementary level, our students are having to assess every 3 weeks. Hence, you have 2 reporting data points there for 3rd through 5th grade. Okay, questions about that information that I just relayed to you all at this point in time? No? 4th grade. For Module 1, we have the number of kids that assessed. For Module 1, I want to draw your attention to the green section. Right there for approaches, we're at 51% for approaches, 20% at meets, and 10% at masters. Our goal for the end of year is to be at 83% for approaches, 50% at meets, and 26% at masters, with a gap of 32%, negative 32 for approaches, negative 30 for meets, and negative 16 for masters. If we go to Module 2 for 4th grade, for approaches, we're at 52% passing. At meets, we're at 20%, and at masters at 10%. The gap there is negative 31 for approaches, negative 30 for meets, and negative 16 for masters. For 5th grade, for Module 1, at approaches, we're at 57% of our kids for approaches, meets at 21%, and masters at 4%. The goal for 5th grade is to be at 94% at approaches, 61% at meets, and 30% at masters. The gap there is negative 37 for approaches, negative 40 for meets, and negative 26% for masters. Module 2 for 5th grade is 75% at approaches, meets is at a 36%, and masters is at 10%. And you see the gaps there with negative 19, negative 25 for meets, and negative 20 for masters. There was an increase there from Module 1 to Module 2 in 5th grade. One of the things I do want to say for reading for 3rd through 5th grade here is there's different skills that are being taught from Module 1 to Module 2. It's not the same skills that's continuous throughout the 6 weeks. So I just do want to say that there. In 6th grade, as you can see, for 6th grade, for the approaches, we're at 48% at approaches level, and 24% at meets, and 10% at masters. The gap there is 22% at approaches, 7% at meets, and 8% at masters. 7th grade for reading, if you look at the green section for the first 6 weeks results, we're at 54% at approaches, 27% for meets, and 12% at masters. The gap there for 7th grade reading is negative 24% for approaches, negative 16 for meets, and negative 14 for masters. In 8th grade, we had 57% of our kids at approaches, 30% at meets, and 13% at masters. The gap is negative 30% at approaches, negative 13 at meets, and negative 12 at masters. Questions or concerns that you all might have with our reading data?
Ms. Villarreal, first of all, thank you for giving us all this information. But I have a question. Who creates the goals, or how do you come up with a 2020 goal? Is that the principals, or?
What we did was we looked at last year's data, right, for the district, and then we went ahead and met with the executive directors, with the coordinators, with the principals, and then we went ahead and generated the goals. One of the things that we talked about with our principals was that we wanted to make sure that we set aggressive goals this year. We did not want to set goals that were too low, because if you aim low, then obviously we might meet them, but we might not meet the overall goal that we have set for the district. So we decided to aim high, and if we do not meet that goal that we set, then we might come close, but at least we aimed high, and we will meet the overall goal as a district, and become that A district that we should be.
Sure. Thank you.
Questions for, another question for reading that you all might have? No? Okay, math. In third grade, we have the number of kids that tested there for 1,722 that tested. And under the approaches, as you can see under the green section, we had 62% that passed. Meets, we have 30%, and masters, 9%. Our goal for math is 91%. Meets, it's 55%, and masters, 30%. We are shy of meeting the end of the year goal by 29%, meets 25%, and masters 21%. Fourth grade, we had 70% of our kids at the approaches level, 40% at the meets, and 21% at the master's level. And our goal is to be at 88% in fourth grade math, 51% at meets, and 30% at masters. The gap there is for the approaches, negative 18%, meets, negative 11%, and masters, negative 9%. Fifth grade, as you can see, for the approaches, we have 84% passing at approaches level, 54% at meets, and 34% at masters. And I just want to remind you all that at this, we're always aiming at the 90-60-30. If you look at fifth grade, we're almost there, but our district has set aggressive goals, as you can see, for fifth grade. Our goal is to be at 97, 63, and 38%. So the gap there is negative 13% for approaches, meets negative 9, and masters negative 4, almost meeting our goal there. In sixth grade, we have 81% of our kids at the approaches level, 45% at the meets level, and 18% at the master's level. Our goal is to be at 91%, 53% at the meets, and 27% at the masters. And we're shy at the approaches level by 10%, meets by 8%, and 9 at the master's level. Seventh grade, our kids, we had 73% at the approaches, 36 at the meets, and 10% at the masters. Our goal is to be at 83% at the approaches, 49% at the meets, and 22 at the masters. And we are shy by 10% at the approaches, 13 at the meets, and 12% at the masters. And then you have eighth grade there. As you can see, our eighth grade students are doing really, really well in the area of math. And as you can see, the gap there for, there's no gap under the meets and masters. They surpassed it. So our eighth grade students are doing extremely well, okay? And then we can move on to writing if you don't have any questions for math. So let's go on to writing. You have a fourth grade writing, and it's the same. You have module 1 and module 2. And as you can see, for fourth grade module 1, we had 71% at the approaches, 56 at masters, and 36 at 56 at meets and 36 at masters. As you can see, for fourth grade writing, we had, for module 1, we had our kids that actually met the goal for meets and masters, okay? They did well there. And then module 2, we had 61% at the approaches, 34 at the meets, and 21 at the masters. The goal is to be at 86 at the approaches, 54 at the meets, and 25 at the masters. And we did have, again, they didn't do as well in module 2, but I got to remind you it's different skills that are being taught, but our principals and our teachers are working hard in meeting these goals. Principals are supporting our teachers. CNI is working hard in supporting our principals and teachers as well. Questions that you all might have?
I don't have any questions, but I want to commend all the principals for being here after a very long day. I want you to go back to your campus and thank your teachers. I know that they've been working really hard and strategically working hand by the CNI department. For me, when I look at first 6 weeks, for me, that's a baseline. And then taking it from there on, I commend all of you for the goals that you have set for your campuses. I know at the end of the year, we will be seeing great gains, and we will be celebrating. It's been the first 6 weeks, it's been difficult, it's been challenging, learning a new breed in adoption, new skills, different expectations, but I know that none of us would have this done with everybody working together. So I commend all of you, from Magda to your department, to everybody down. Please thank your staff, all of you, for the support, because without all of y'all, we wouldn't be shining bright at the end of the year. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ochoa. And I want to thank the board for supporting. I want to thank the board for supporting our high goals for student achievement. And of course, thank you so much, principals. I know that you all have very specific plans at your campuses, and you're working with your teachers. So thank you all for the amazing job that you do every single day. And thank you, Magda, for supporting our principals also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, principals.
Thank you,
And
Ms. I was just going to say that you're hearing the numbers, and it's real good for us and everything, but just when you go tomorrow back and you thank your teachers, but make sure you start with a clean slate and go aggressive again, because these numbers are going to just get better. So again, whatever we need to do to help you all and the actual, fronts of the education, we're here for you guys. So thank you for everything that you all do. Gracias.
Thank you. It's a team effort, sir. Thank you.
Before we go on, because it has been a very long day for all of you, I just want to extend that you are excused so you can go get some rest.
Thank you, principals. Thank you, Ms. Ochoa.
Thank you.
We'll go on to discussion of investments, investment earnings as of August 31st, 2019.
And we'll have Mr. Joel Trevino, our Assistant Superintendent for Administration and Finance, give us this report.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Science. Today, I will be discussing with you the investments and the investments earnings for La Joya ISD as of August 31st, 2019. Okay. I would like to direct you to page 48. On page 48, you see a listing of all the funds that we have investments in. Would like to let you know that as of August 31st, the total of all funds was $88,818,151 in investments and cash. Of that, the general fund comprises of $67,047,556. That makes about 75.49%. Plus the additional 5.7 that is in a general fund reserve. That's an additional 6.47% of the total investments. Are there any questions on any of these here? Okay. The next page that I would like to direct you to, it's page 62. This reflects the earnings for the 2018-19 school year. The total earnings in interest was $2,508,139, of which $1,925,257 were in the general fund. Okay. Are there any questions on any of these? If not, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Executive Directors, thank you for being here, for supporting your principals. You all are free to go too.
We'll move on to next, number 4, on discussion items, presentation by Purdue Brandon Filler Collinsmont LLP Delinquent Tax Collection Activity Report for fiscal year from September 1st, 2018 through August 31st, 2019.
Good evening. My name is Thelma Bandu, and Iram Gutierrez and I are the partners in the Purdue Brandon's Edinburgh office. The report that is before you tonight is your fiscal 2018-2019 delinquent tax collection report. Our firm starts, the first thing that we do with any account that comes to our office is we try to make phone contact. During this reporting period, we made a little bit over 25,000 calls to your taxpayers. We also, in addition to phone calls, also send mass mailings, and we mailed a little bit over 11,500 letters this fiscal year. We also sent out staff to do property inspections, and that's basically to visit properties in your area and try to talk to taxpayers if we can, or also to look to see if we see any problems, maybe with that there's some appraisal issues, the house maybe is in bad shape, or there's not a house there. And we did 143 property inspections this fiscal year. Our Edinburgh office is monitoring 225 payment agreements that were entered into this fiscal year, involving a little bit over $500,000 in delinquent taxes. And those payment agreements also get calls to taxpayers to remind them that your payment is due. We try to get them into the habit of every month making a payment, and if they miss, keeping up with them, just so that we get on the envelope to make sure that those payments get made regularly, and hopefully at the end of the contract, their taxes are paid off and all they have to worry about is the current taxes. There are 356 suits or interventions that were filed this fiscal year involving a little bit over $3 million in base tax. And those we will monitor, and either if they get paid, we dismiss the lawsuit. If they don't, we take them to judgment and then enforce our judgment. The primary way we enforce the judgment is through tax sale of real estate. And we have posted 26 properties for tax sale, and is on page 4 of the report, you'll see a breakdown. 13 of those properties entered into payment agreements either with our office or with the tax office, or paid in full. 7 were struck off and 6 were sold. We also conducted 2 tax resales, and those are properties that are struck off to the entities. That means that at the initial tax sale, no one wanted to bid on the property, so we held 2 public resales. 13 properties were selected in September of 2018 and 18 in May. 21 properties were sold, and that generated a little bit over $152,000 in delinquent base tax alone. That doesn't account for penalties and interest. Unfortunately, some taxpayers have no alternative but to file bankruptcy, and we also provide bankruptcy representation, and we filed 17 proofs of claim with the bankruptcy courts that were involved. Most of them were filed in the McAllen, Southern District of Texas McAllen Division, but we also handle cases that are filed outside of this division and also outside of the state. And that was a little bit over $92,000 in taxes that are involved in bankruptcy. During this fiscal year, we collected $2,233,124 in base tax, and in addition to that, we collected a little bit over $900,000 in penalties and interest for a total collection of $3,216,673. As compared to last year, last year the collection rate was 29.73. This year, your collection rate was 30.24, which countywide is a pretty good collection rate, even though your levy has been shrinking, which means the amount of money for us to go after is going less. We are trying to be effective and to increase collections. And the other item I have is we are proposing another delinquent tax resale in December, the first Tuesday in December, and that's the next agenda item. Does anybody have questions or?
Questions?
It's boring and.
Thank you for the report. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
We'll go on. Can I entertain a motion for approval for all items under consent agenda?
Also move.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Salinas, a second by Mr. Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Under letter H in contracts, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion, items 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I have a motion by Mr. Salinas,
Second.
Second by Mr. Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Madam President, under letter C, Business and Finance, we have items 6 and 7. Also move for approval.
A motion by Mr. Salinas,
Second.
second by Ms. Cantu.
I know we have a representative from the county, Mr. Cecina. I don't know if you want to say something on item number 7?
Thank you. Appreciate you having us here, Roseanne, County Drainage District Number 1 General Manager. We just wanted to let the board know we're addressing a lot of drainage needs in the Mile 7 western area, so a couple of projects that we're doing, going to be working to extend drainage to those areas. I know the last two heavy events we've been underwater, so we're going to work closely to get those issues addressed and look at also extending one of our drainage systems into the western portion and look at incorporating some of those low areas into the detention facility. So we have a couple of big projects in the area. I think the whole area will benefit, in particular the school district as well, especially in the Juarez-Lincoln area. So we appreciate the partnership with the drainage district. So that's really all I have. So.
No, thank you, because we really need the help there and around the Juarez-Lincoln area, so
Yes,
thank
sir.
you
Yes,
for
sir.
everything.
When we put that whole facility in place, currently there's no outfall when that facility is built. We anticipate 9 months to a year, probably have it operational, if not sooner, and it'll have full outfall for that whole area there.
For those of you unaware, they underwent a huge project there around Juarez-Lincoln High School. A lot of times when we had some of these rain events, especially last year, there was a rain event that, we normally don't see. That entire part was covered underwater. Now with this new system that they're putting in, we'll be able to flush that water down, and our kids will have use of the facilities in the school.
That is correct, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We'll have that in place.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Cecina.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Drainage district.
Okay, also move. Okay, also move with the recommendation from legal on that item number 7 under, that'd be C, Business and Finance.
I'll second that.
I had a second by Ms. Cantu, so.
I'm sorry about that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Salinas and a second by Ms. Cantu. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Under Human Resources, approval of powerlifting assistant stipends for La Jolla High School, Palmview High School, and Juarez Lincoln High School. I have a
So
motion.
moved.
I'll say, we're going into a public, or just,
No.
No, we don't need
okay.
to go into a public hearing for this.
I have a motion by Mr. Garza and a second by Ms. Hernandez. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Approval of reclassification of transportation mechanic full-time equivalent FTE position auxiliary pay grade 6 to certified diesel technician auxiliary pay grade 7.
also move.
A motion by Mr. Salinas.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cantu. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. It is now 6:46, and we will be going under executive session under Texas Government Code 551071, 551072, 551074, 6:46.
Thank you, Ms. Ochoa.
It is now 8:15, and we are out of executive session.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion on items 1, 3, 4, and 7 as discussed in executive session.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Salinas, a second by Mr. Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
On item number 2, I'd like to so move to terminate Iberto Cardona and Carlos Guardado due to workplace misconduct.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Salinas, a second by Mr. Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
On item number 5, I'll go ahead and, as directed by legal, have our consultants.
Let's open it. Let me read it first. Discussion and possible action regarding agent of record insurance broker. I do need a motion.
Okay, I'll go ahead and so move on that and then give them the opportunity to talk. I move
And-
to authorize superintendent and legal counsel to give notice regarding service fee, regarding prescriptions, medicine, and to renegotiate contract based on findings and recommendation given by the insurance consultant.
I have a motion by Mr. Salinas. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
And now we will have discussion.
I believe we have the gentleman.
More than a discussion, just have been asked to read our findings into the record, so that's what we're going to do. My name is Tommy Taylor. I'm with Higginbotham. I have my associate, Michael Evan-Everly, with me. We were contacted by the board to review some documents and make a recommendation, and this is our findings that we have thus far. So Higginbotham was approached on behalf of the district to provide a short overview of the current compensation incorporated into the district's medical insurance, administrative, pharmacy, and voluntary products. The purpose of this review was to determine that the compensation structure was or is within industry norms. Material provided to Higginbotham included publicly accessible information, including the current agent and professional services contract, current ASO agreement, current pharmacy benefit manager agreement, and current stop-loss agreement. Requested but not yet provided at the time of this letter, but provided later, would include the district's life, disability, dental, worksite products, such as cancer, critical illness, and health indemnity plans. The process was upon receipt of these agreements, we reviewed and provided information for form and content. During the review, we evaluated the content and terms of those agreements and found the following. Number one, agent and professional services agreement. This agreement appears to be outside the industry norms in many respects. These outliers include exceptional provisions both in terms of form and compensation. As to form, we found the following to be outside the industry norms and best practices. The term and the length of this agreement. This is an 8-year agreement, and 8 years is an exceptionally long period of time for an agreement with a public entity. The scope of services. The scope of services outlined seem to include services sometimes, but not always, provided through the traditional agent relationship. In visiting with the district, it does not appear that independent consulting services are being performed, but normal reporting to the district is being made based on the Blue Cross and the PBM's reports. Compensation. The compensation provisions outlined within the agreement and the supporting documents, while fully disclosed, are outside of what would be considered best practices and industry norms. These terms have allowed for an annual revenue that appears to be in excess of $1 million to the current agent. How this is achieved is outlined later in this review. The ability to renegotiate. The district appears to be somewhat limited in this renegotiation agreement. The contract provides for a small window every 2 years, with the last window closing in February of 2019 and the next being in February of 2021. Termination of the agreement. The termination language within this form is extremely favorable to the agent. It provides 6 months as opposed to the traditional 30 to 60 days for the agent to remedy or address the reason for termination. Finally, there is a liquidated damages clause within the contract, and as a layman's reading, and notwithstanding the termination clause, this provision appears to place the district at risk no matter why the contract is terminated. This provision calls for a payment of $68,375 per month until December the 1st of 2024. In our experience, this provision is unheard of within the public sector contracts. We just have not seen that before. So, based on the indication above, we would suggest that the board work with the current council to address the ability to renegotiate the provisions that exist and look for a new public sector contract with the existing agent. Can it currently be done? And that's the question for the board and the current council. We also looked at the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas ASO agreement. This agreement appears to be the current one used by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas. The administrative fees within that agreement are not excessive. However, they should be reviewed as a matter of course in reviewing all contracts. Outside the administration fee, there is a current $2.35 per employee per month commission built into the agent. Based on the district's current contract enrollment of 4,128 employees, this equates to an annual revenue of $116,409 in commissions to the agent. While this amount alone is not exceptional for a client the size of the La Jolla district, it is part of the larger total. Script Care Pharmacy Agreement, this is your PBM contract that governs how your pharmacy prescriptions are paid. The current Pharmacy Benefit Manager Agreement is with Script Care. Upon our review, there appears to be several opportunities to enhance the district's position and cost in the upcoming renewal process. These opportunities exist in areas of audit, cost, rebates, and definitions within the contract. In addition to the PBM cost to the district, there is also a service fee agreement of $5 per script paid to the agent. Using the actual count of prescriptions in 2018 of 82,593, this means an additional revenue of $412,965 to the existing agent. Your stop-loss contract. It appears that the district is currently with Blue Cross Blue Shield on the stop-loss coverage. While not outside norms, it does appear that there is a significant oversight in the current application, and if it extends to the actual policy, puts significant additional risk on the district. The current application shows the medical is the only covered line under the stop-loss contract. That means that there is no coverage for prescription drugs under the current stop-loss contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield. With the high cost of specialty medications, the lack of stop-loss coverage for pharmacy could be devastating to the district. The current annual cost of the stop-loss contract is $1,868,497.92. Assuming the agent is taking the 15% commission agreed to in the agent's agreements referenced above, there is an additional $280,274.69 of commission. Your voluntary and worksite products. The district offers a full range of traditional and worksite products to its employees. These products are paid for by the employees and do not cost the district any direct monies. Experience with clients of comparable size within the public sector show that on average, there is $10 per employee per month in revenue that one can expect with an employer group such as La Jolla District. Based on that number, there is approximately another $494,400 of additional revenue available. However, it is also likely that the agent has expenses of roughly $300,000 to provide the district's benefit administrative system and 125 services. This leaves a net revenue of approximately $190,000 additional to the agent. Based on what we see in the marketplace, it is our opinion that the district is currently in a position of extremely overpaying for the services provided. Additionally, because of the lack of transparency and communication, the district is at a coverage and contract risk in several areas. It is our opinion the district should undertake a review of all carrier contacts with an eye on renegotiating or replacing any that are found to be underperforming. We also recommend a thorough review of the current professional services contract and the net revenues being generated. Best practices and current acceptable conversation would be roughly 1/3 to 1/4 of what is currently being paid. Overall, there is significant opportunity for improvement if there is that desire within the district. We wish to thank the La Jolla ISD for this opportunity to be of service. Respectfully submitted, Michael Abenevely, CBC, and Tommy Taylor, CLU, both of Higginbotham. Any questions from the board?
Based on your recommendation that you're saying right now, what is the total savings that the district will save if we were to do all these changes that you're recommending?
Just in terms of fees?
Yes.
In terms of fees alone, not taking into account what may happen under the current RFP that you have out, there's roughly, what did we say, $700,000? $700,000 or $800,000 of immediate savings back to the district. There's also opportunity within the current pharmacy contract for additional renegotiations that would equal $1 million or greater. So maybe $1.7 million safely.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We have a motion by Mr. Salinas and a second by Ms. Hernandez. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. We'll go on to number 6, discussion and possible action regarding any and all construction litigations.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to move to allow General Counsel to authorize Millen & Millen to non-suit and dismiss litigation pertaining to Juarez Lincoln High School.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Garza, second by Mr. Salinas. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Discussion and possible action regarding general litigation.
That was already.
Yeah, okay.
I'll go ahead and so move for adjournment.
Okay. Mr. Salinas,
I'll second that.
motion, second by Ms. Hernandez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. We adjourn at 8:27. Thank you, everyone.